Welcome out to a recap of episodes 78 to 96 of Godforged. If you are watching this on YouTube, these recaps will basically tell you all of the main plotline, some of the side plot lines that lead to all of the major stories and major developments in the show, but it will miss out on all of the small bits of roleplay, the beautiful roleplay between NPCs and players and players and players. So we'd always suggest go back and watching the episodes, but if you're looking to catch up quickly, this is the way to do so. So, without further ado, episode 78 to 96 begins with episode 78, The Tablets of Truth. The party was trying to ignite all of Krigven under a single ruler, Skold. He wielded the Krigmiti, the belt, rightfully his, to claim leadership. This episode sent them into the fiery caverns of the fire giant. There, the Krigven, who were the only ones left behind after the fire giants left, were waiting. Skold came from these people and wanted to unite them together. There in the mountains of the Kiln, in their fiery caverns, he came across a half Krigven, half Dragonborn, who had pulled all of the other Krigven together. His name was Worm, and he was working for Horg, or better known as Uven. When challenged to a duel, Skold instead chose Adderward to fight. He wanted to evoke awe from the Krigven, and so they might see the Lokovat as powerful, and perhaps even equals. After easily killing him, Adderward and Skold and the rest of the party journeyed into the giant's study. His giant, Krognar. There they found tablets that revealed the true ancestry of the Krigven. They were the 7th giant clan once, but were implanted with a bestial curse for walking away from Magnathor in his ancient wars. The curse transformed and warped their minds over the years, losing many of their aspects and many of their culture. But eventually, Skold learned the news that they were rightfully one of the giant clans of the Ordning. Episode 79, Art of the Stone, had the party travelling down to where the stone giant Krigven were. After battling their way through 2 Remorhaz, these fiery snow giant centipede-like creatures, they killed those that were trapping the Krigven inside and managed to make their way in. There they got the blessing of the stone giants, and the stone giant Krigven took sympathy and honoured the fact that the king was rising. They agreed to come to Kongstar, leaving only one clan remaining, the Cloud Giants. Episode 80 on Clouds of Mischief. The Cloud Giants might prove to be the most difficult to entice and to bring along with them. They never really interacted with the other clans and saw themselves at the highest peaks. Journeying up to those peaks, after scaring off some toll-scamming ogres, the group managed to find the Cloud Giant Krigven in a town. They were rude and hostile towards the party, claiming they were never left by their giants. So the group decided to go up to the giants and confront them themselves. Their Cloud Giants lived atop a massive castle in the sky, hanging over the tallest peak. They made their way up to the top, only to discover that there was no castle. It was all in fact a Cloud Giant ruse, an illusion. Only one Cloud Giant remained up there, and he was deceiving both the Krigven and the party alike. He tried to kill them to keep his secret intact, but failed. The Cloud Giant Krigven dealt with the Cloud Giant, ashamed of their actions. Their leaders exiled, a new one took over and agreed to come to Kongstar. All the clans now agreed. Episode 81, King of Fields. With all of the clans in Kongstar, the ceremony to become king was soon underway. Before it could begin, though, the party decided to have some downtime inside of Kongstar. They managed to learn the Plane of Diplomacy spell, the one that Yule had used to contact them a while ago, and Basil proved himself to be the greatest arm wrestler in all of Kongstar against Krigven. At last, with the ceremony at hand, Skold took to the stage and gave a speech to the Krigven to unite them all, and was successful in doing so. He became the new king of the Krigven. Episode 82. Onward into Death. Now with Skold as king, Timmy requested that they pursue his mother's soul to find out what truly happened to her. They gathered around and travelled to the Plane of Souls, the plane between our world and their next, a purgatory if you will, a place where all of the souls go to be processed into their next afterlife. They used the mask from Steep Glen, the one of the Valkyrie, to attune to it and shift it into the plane. They fought off ghosts and spectres before finding their way through to the town of the Lost, a place where lost souls waited in eternity, losing their memories themselves. After naming a poor unfortunate soul bucket, they met with one known as the Guide and found a way to contact a Harbinger. These Harbingers were the messengers of the gods, the ones who oversaw all of the soul siphoning. Their intention was to find one that could guide them to Timothy's mother, or to one known as the Bard, one who manages a lot of the souls here inside of the Plane of Souls. He was the Harbinger to the god of death. Just as they went to summon a Harbinger, a weaker one emerged and attacked. Episode 83, Those Beyond. They fought toe-to-toe against the Lesser Harbinger and killed it, with the aid of a topaz-scaled dragonborn named Wesker. Basil made a deal with the Harbinger of Chorus, the god of bards, in which he would journey to his afterlife if he helped them find the Bard, a creature that organized souls within the realm. Having seen Basil perform before, he agreed. On the journey there, the party saw loved ones, or those who had died, making peace with some, and trying to learn truths from others. Finally, they met with the Bard. Wesker brokered a deal with the spirit, trying to convince it to come back with him to High Loma. He had unfinished business there. But for the party, however, the Bard mentioned that there were lingering portions of Timothy's mother here in the Plane of Souls. They could each take the form of one of her friends and attempt to unravel the truth through a series of flashback adventures. Episode 84, Mother's Memories. Just going to put on a different bit of music for this one. Mother's Memories opened with the group becoming a series of childhood friends of Dara, Timothy's mother. Each memory was an illusion, and they had to try and stick as close to the truth as possible to make the most real outcome. In a series of memories, they learned that Dara had her own adventuring party, Leadfist's underdogs, led by her. They formed when they were children and fought alongside each other for years afterwards. We saw Dara meeting Timothy's mother, having her son Timmy, and saying goodbye to him when she was beckoning to service during the War for More. After one of the party, Ogrin, produced bracelets for them all, with little diamonds encrusted into them. This is the last place he had seen his mother. The final memory was about to begin, and it was journeying into that fateful final battlefield where Timothy's mother died. Episode 85, The Cost of a Soul. The final memory showed the massive battle in Crestfall, the final battle for the War for More. One by one, Dara's friends died, but not Ogrin or Dara. They managed to hold until it was just those two. Ogrin was meant to run away from the battlefield, to flee. But Timmy, in control of his memory, in control of Ogrin's memory, could not bring himself to leave his mother. Though the memory was false, it gave him some closure. He stayed behind with her. Returning to the Bard, the memory was shattered. But the party paid diamonds to try and win his favor, a currency that those of death take for as close to souls as possible. He obliged. He brought them to the tower of Archmage Malanos, the necromancer responsible for the undead army Wolfguard, the same tower that they had fought a time wizard so long ago. They learned that Malanos was kidnapped during the time where he was leading the undead armies to protect Wolfguard, by a group that built the machines to harvest souls from the war. These souls would eventually be put into the Warforged that Godsbane had seen all those months ago, and anyone who was wearing one of those bracelets would be put into one. This meant Dara was likely alive and in one of the Warforged army that the King of Kessex was now leading. Episode 86, Bound by Steel, had the party teleport to Advent, with the intention of finding Dara. They discussed the matter with the king, who seemed not to know about the souls at all, but offered his aid where he could. They tracked down Dara's Warforged body and managed to free her from her inhibitor. Timmy was reunited with his mother finally. But, as all heroes do, they could not sit still. Rumours were emerging through the city of people disappearing, and the party went to investigate. By a statue in the city, they found a secret entrance to ancient vaults that led deep below, and down there, they found devils. Episode 87. Vault from Hell. Quickly dispatching the lesser devils, the group pushed further down into the vaults and discovered a great blood portal that had been opened up to the Hells. An open tome described how to open and close the portals. Adderward read from the tome as a behemoth, colossal-sized devil tried to breach through, its head barely fitting. The group battled it back as Underward read from the fiendish incantations and managed to close shut the gate to hell, almost cutting its head off. The party looted the coffer and around the area and discovered the tome itself belonged to none other than Zalfel, along with all of the treasures inside the vault. Episode 88, Together Against War. The group prevented any more deaths from coming from the devils and explained the situation to the authorities on the surface, saving some more. They used this time to catch up with Dara before contacting Onmithis. Not long after being rather rude and stubborn, he responded saying he needed a lair, so they could work together to take down Magnathor. They agreed on Nithrax's lair, the white dragon they had killed. The group teleported there, and all around them traps began to spring. Silvaric, the worm hunter, servant of Magnathor, the Abishai, had lured them into a trap using false sending spells to bring them there. Episode 89, A Dragon's Trap. This episode was a fight against Silvaric. As fire, poison, and razor blade traps went off around the lair, the group desperately fought against the assassin. Skold finally caved her skull in before the group could flee from the collapsing lair. With her dead, only one lieutenant really remained of Magnathor, other than Yule and Uven. Just Jalvori. They were getting closer to their quarry. They reunited with Almo over in Kongstol and met up with the others in Holm. Their hope was to go back to the Scarlet Ballad and sail south to Timothy's home in Underson. Episode 90, Homebound. Godsbane rested for an episode. They spent some time at the spa. Underward and Skold got a private mansion for the day, and Fabian managed to get herself banned from home for disruptive behaviour, throwing rocks at other inhabitants. They left Fjordhelm behind and spent more time with the crew down at the Scarlet Ballad. They said their goodbyes to the Scarlet Ballad as they were dropped off on the shores of Underson. So the Scarlet Ballad, led by their captain Heartbloom, intended to sail down to Pennytown to look into piracy and adventures in the Southern Isles. Their adventures awaited, and they said goodbye to them, perhaps for the last time. Making their way through the mountains, Timmy finally came across his childhood home and reunited his mother with his father. Episode 91, The Son of Underson. It wasn't long until into the reunion that people started flocking to see the Warforged at Underson. Underson belonged to the greater part of Westmorn, so it was still battling against Kessex, meaning that the people there were more used to seeing the Warforged on the enemy side. But now, seeing one with its soul and free will inspired some of them, and one of the two kings of Underson came down to try and use Dara as a political symbol to fight back against Westmorn. But Timmy didn't allow it. He wouldn't want his parents to be used in this way, and decided to get them some peace by smuggling them away from home, along with Ogrin, who had been forgiven. He was a drunk on the streets of Underson, but they found him, and through Dara's love, he was brought back to them. Those three were smuggled to home and given a chance for a vacation. The group decided it was time now to go to the Vahazi and took a shortcut through Krigven's shop to Albridge. But when they arrived, they found a storm overhead and giants rampaging the city. Fury of the Storm, Episode 92. The battle for Albridge was one-sided until the group arrived. They managed to push back the giants long enough for hundreds of civilians to make it out alive, but Magnathor was near impenetrable, and Yule was hurting Onmithis. Godsbane knew they could only fight Magnathor for so long, and decided to fight him another day. They retreated from the battlefield, and Magnathor called for his own rock, the first rock they saw in Episode 1, to come from the sky and take him upward. They fled from Albridge as the others left. Finally, they managed to have a sit-down with Onmithis, who'd agreed to work closer with them finally. He told them that the way into Volcaria was through the Song of Creation, the one that Basil had learned from Old Blue. He also mentioned that the weakness to Magnathor might be found in the globe of buried sand. Onmithis had been studying how to defeat Magnathor and decided to send an excavation team that went missing to look into the globe. The globe of buried sand was the same place that the avatar of Belamos, god of war, was defeated so many years prior in ancient times. But before they set out, Onmithis had one last gift for them. Using his magic, he empowered their legacy items. Fabia had more magical capability and could now shrink down to a tiny size. Skold grew permanently to large size. Fear awakened her inner dragon, Adderward's Todd unlocked its archives and Basil's song became a ballad. But Timothy's item did not evolve, as his true legacy item was still yet to be found. Episode 93. Grog and Sand. To find their way to the Vahazi, the group decided to teleport to Pennytown. It was much closer. It was the pirate town in which Fia grew up. There, they spent some time with the locals, some of Fia's family, like her mother, and also the one who mentored her, Mr. Chambers. They travelled in a mist form, leaving Pennytown behind, only staying there for a day, across the sea toward the Vahazi Desert. The party split at a villa of the Silkweaver after discovering it near an oasis. Some tried to sneak into the estate, others went for the front gate entrance. The Silkweaver was paranoid and had mage hunters hiding in his office, in an impenetrable room that you could not teleport in or out of. Outside, many mercenaries and automated soldiers were at the ready to fight Skold, Aaron, and Timmy. Thea and Fabio were sneaking in the back, and Adderward was by the office, using the etherealness spell to sneak in. Basil remained in Albridge and planned to meet them there. He wanted to know what happened to Alfie. Affie had been gone missing, and they could not find her in Albridge. When scryed upon, they learned that she was in a dungeon somewhere, captured. Episode 94, A Shield of Coin. Back in Albridge, before being teleported to the estate, Basil learned that it was Jalvori, the Rakshazar lieutenant that served Magnathor, who had captured Affie. In the Silkweaver's estate, Fia and Fabio were aided by a stranger, an assassin who wanted the Silkweaver dead. They recognized her to be the lady they had rescued from the boat journey to Wolfguard, the one who pretended to be a princess. Turns out she was not. A fight broke out, and the party managed to kill the mage hunters and the majority of the guards before confronting the Silkweaver. Inside of his office, they interrogated him, and found the Warforged control switch. The Silkweaver bled out from his wounds, as they had removed his hand in the interrogation. There, in the office, Timothy received his legacy item, the armor of his mother that she wore into battle. But not only that, it was formerly owned by Somra, his god of love and magic and rest. Episode 95, The Ones We Love. Basil could not hold back his information and needed the others to help. They learned from Vindar, Cadven's husband, that Jalvori was located on Phlegathos, the fourth layer of hell. There, he was hiding away with Affie. He had planned to try and cause some discussion to try and keep the group off his back, and was working for someone else now. They made their way to Silk, their goblin friend, in the mountains, the Sister Mountains, and Silk gifted them 2 monstrosities to sacrifice for their ritual and open up a portal to hell. Stepping into that portal, they arrived in a landscape of active volcanoes, great creatures, and soon, the diabolical courts. And finally, episode 96, Legal and Action. The party journeyed through the hell until they came to a broken bridge. On the other side, an overweight imp named Ick attempted to swindle them out of their souls, setting a Leviathan devil to attack them, a great fish lava being. They killed it and captured the imp. They made a deal with the imp that if he led them to diabolical courts and pretended to be their devil, they would make him look strong by saying that they belonged to him. He agreed and led them towards the courts. There, they sought out a lawyer to join their case. They were looking to bring Jalvori to the justice system. Devils are renowned for how lawful they are and how seriously they take their rules. The lawyer that they hired mentioned that Jalvori was a fiend, but no devil, so kidnapping was against the rules of the hell. Whilst putting the case together and awaiting on the assignment of a fiendish judge, the group decided to make their way into the capital city of Phlegathos, all the way into a devil casino. And that is where we last left off. If you would like to watch live, we start up our campaign every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. BST, that's 3:30 p.m. EDT, if you're on the East Coast of America, or 30 minutes past midday if you're on the West Coast. Thanks everyone for listening to the recap. We'll see you on another recap, otherwise catch you live every Sunday. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.